Nuri, Lloyd Augustine, Vida, Harlem Youth, Agua, Bigs the
Wake up, believe. Wake up, believe. Wake up, believe. Another day is here. Wake up, believe. Wake up, believe. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, believe. Wake up, believe. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, believe. Wake up, believe. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show, my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. No respect on selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to obey. And all the things that will feel happen and not got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's the show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show, my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. No respect on selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to obey. And all the things that will feel happen and not got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show, my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. No respect on selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to obey. And all the things that will feel happen and not got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's the show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice of opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself, this is just show my people. Believe our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, this the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WUB. And all the things that we feel happen and I got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WUB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize.
Welcome. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize, Morning Vibes. It's a Thursday, the 26th day of March, 2026. It's actually the 37th day of the month or the 40 days of Lent. And we've just completed the Ramadan period of 30 days. And so we're very happy to be here today. We welcome you. As you know, we go through certain preliminaries before we get into our main course. We have a guest today. In fact, we have the Minister of Foreign Affairs will be our guest this morning. But before we get there, we have a lot before we get to that interview. We start with a look at our weather. We have Crystal Rosales that will speak to us this morning from the Met Office. Crystal?
Good morning. Moist and unstable conditions prevail over the country, and in the 24-hour forecast, skies will be mostly cloudy with some showers, periods of rain, and a few thunderstorms expected around the country today. Then there will be a slight break in activity by this evening, with a few showers and thunderstorms redeveloping, especially over coastal and southern areas later tonight. And then high temperatures will reach around 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 83 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and then 72 up in the hills. Low temperatures for tonight will reach around 70 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 64 inland, and then 60 in the mountains. Winds over the open sea will be from the east to northeast at 5 to 15 knots, with sea conditions being moderate. But please note that there is a small craft caution in effect for occasionally gusty winds and locally rough seas near heavy showers and thunderstorms. Then low tides occur at 9:15 this morning and at 12:09 tomorrow morning. High tides at 4 o'clock this evening, then at 6:40 tomorrow morning. The sun will set at 6:04 this evening, then rise at 5:51 tomorrow morning, while moonrise is at 12:24 this afternoon and moon set at 2:02 tomorrow morning. And now for the extended forecast for Friday and Friday night. There will be cloudy skies with a few showers or periods of rain and isolated thunderstorms expected around the country, but especially over central and southern areas. And now for the fire risk forecast. The risk for brush or forest fires will be low going into Friday, as shower activity is expected to increase around the country today. And finally, for the sargassum update. Satellite and surface observations show numerous sargassum mats in the area. There is a high chance that more mats will drift ashore during the next few days, impacting coastal destinations across Belize. And this has been this morning's weather report from the National Meteorological Service.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Prime Minister John Bersenio reported on Tuesday that the government is already taking losses in relation to fuel taxes. He noted that they capped the increase in prices for fuel leading to a significant loss. But is it sustainable? Diesel went up at midnight on Tuesday by $2.50 following increases in regular and premium over the last week by more than $1 per gallon.
Price would have gone up in excess of $3, but because we are cutting the tax by $1, at least about $1.25, that we're going to go down to less than $3 increase. We are foregoing, I think, at least $1.25 in tax, and that would represent, I think it's over $60 million that we're foregoing. And when we forego $60 million, or what Honorable Lee Marchand was talking about, writing it off because it's over $200 million. Okay, we could write it off, but where will you get that $200 million to be able to pay the teachers, to pay the BDF, to pay for NHI, to pay Cal Kushner? I mean, there's so many things that we have to do. The money has to come from somewhere. We may have to take a hard look at the budget, and maybe there's some projects that maybe we can hold back until things stabilize. The tax is based on the price that you get. So if the price is higher, the tax is the same price because the percentage does not change. You collect more. Right. But if the price goes down, you get less. So what we've been doing now is that we've been cutting this. In this instance, we've been cutting the price. We're foregoing $1.25 on, at least $1.25 on the tax to be able to manage the price of the fuel. But again, we are takers. We can't set the price. The United States, they can set their price. They're buying billions of gallons of fuel when we're just buying a few billion. So they can, the more you buy, the lower the price you can get. We don't have that luxury.
Belize's ambassador to Mexico, His Excellency Oscar Arnold, confirmed on Tuesday afternoon that over 30 containers were impacted by the imposition of so-called tariffs by elements claiming links to the cartel in Mexico. While the flow of the transboundary cargo has resumed, the Prime Minister John Briceño spoke about the impact on the government's coffers.
I understand that it was between the vicinity of maybe 26 to about 34 containers that were, for lots of better words, were in limbo. And depending on the cargo in those, well, the millions of dollars can vary. The difficulty that we came up against was that there was no official reports of individuals saying there is a threat against me and I'm going to make a report, or I'm going to have the police make a file on it. And so the police are saying, well, Ambassador, we don't have any reports of those and we would look into it if we have it. Customs is saying on the Mexican side, we're ready to work. We have our people here. We are actually losing money as well, because if cargo doesn't transit, then we can't make the charges and have people pay the quotas and the fees that they are supposed to pay. When I spoke to the individual in charge, the general in charge of the Guardia Nacional at the border that also oversees some custom duties, he said, Ambassador, we're open for business. We are conducting business as per usual. There is an issue with the brokers where the brokers refuse to process entries or to process pedimento. And I said, but so what was the rationale or the reason behind that? And he said, your guess is as good as mine. And so when someone says, okay, well, the cartel is doing it, but they can't give you who or what or where or when, it begins to beg the question whether they're just using the cartel acronym or the cartel name to try to evoke some level of desperation on other people's part. And so I will say that, I'm not saying that in this instance that didn't take place, but that is a realm that I don't operate in, and I would be doing an injustice to our listeners and to your viewers to speculate on something like that.
We understand that there have been losses. I think they said vegetables, that would be the main perishable thing, I think. So it's losses to those people. It's going to mean that we will have increase in prices for us too as consumers.
I hope not. But
what about losses in revenue in terms of fees charged? I'm sorry, is it just like delayed because they're still going to come across at some point?
Well, they still come across, and when they come across, then we will be able to charge our duties or the taxes. So we'll be able to get it back. But still, it still puts a dented kit. The money comes in, but comes in later, and government needs the money now. So
house rental is becoming increasingly out of reach for Belizeans who do not own a home. During the budget debate, leader of the opposition, Honorable Tracy Panton, said that house rental is among the list of things for which her office provides assistance to constituents. The support comes from her division's monthly allocation under the Constituency Development Fund. With prices continuing to climb, she argues that it is time for the government to regulate the rental sector
and give rent assistance when we can. Rental rates have risen, reducing the affordability for families. The moment has arrived to introduce regulations for this sector. We continue to allocate these funds efficiently and to assist as many individuals as possible.
House rentals, it is something that we've been looking at, how we can do it, or at least for low-cost house rentals, and we brought that in a few times where some unscrupulous owners of these, especially the small, the one room where they rent that they would cut off the water, cut off the lights, and that kind of thing. So we need to find a way how we can find a balance, because at the same time, these people need to collect their rent. They made an investment and it's expected. So, and if you make it too easy for some people, they don't want to pay rent. So it's a fine line that we have to walk.
Port Loyola Area Representative Honorable Gilroy Usher made his contribution to the budget debate on Wednesday. Among the upcoming projects he highlighted was the proposed massive cargo expansion and cruise terminal project at Port of Belize Limited, now a government-owned entity. He stated, quote, "Practically all residents and even the wider country supports it, but no published polling or constituency survey, with no published polling or constituency survey, what consultancy or what consultation is he relying on?"
One of the items in this year's budget that offers hope for major economic and transformational development in Port Loyola and the wider Belize City, as well as the country on a whole, is the $450 million upgrading of the Port of Belize, which was acquired by this administration from a private owner in December 2023, and is in the Port Loyola division. The project entails construction of modern facilities for bulk cargo and cruise tourism to enable ships to dock near the shore in an efficient way. The project is also scheduled for completion in 2030 and would eliminate the slow, expensive, dangerous, and time-consuming use of catamarans and tugboats to ferry passengers and goods from large ships to the shore. Mr. Speaker, proper docking facility for very large ships is an urgent matter for this country. Due to its absence, the country continues to lose hundreds of millions of dollars yearly in trade and cruise tourism, as huge ships cannot visit the municipality without the crucial infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, direct benefits for Port Loyola with the huge investment will include quality streets, tremendous opportunities to operate small business successfully, wide range of employment opportunities for residents of the division and other communities, greater security, tremendous increase in the value of properties in the surrounding areas, in addition to many other benefits. The Port of Belize Development Project has the support of practically all the residents of Port Loyola and the wider country, because it is further proof that this administration, led by Prime Minister Briceño, is committed to ensuring a better life for all Belizeans in every possible way.
And that's our news package for this morning, the 26th day of March, 2026. There's more news coming up in the program that follows us. You know, that is the Morning Stew. That update comes around 12 o'clock. There's another one at 3 and a full news broadcast at 5:15. All this on Creme Radio. Here on XTV, we bring you the entire news package at 6 o'clock this evening. It's now 10 minutes to 7 o'clock. We'll take a fast break. Come back, we'll open the phone lines. Our guest is supposed to be here by 7:30, and we will interview the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Francis Fonseca. Please stay tuned.
Informative, accurate, current information. Krem's newscast. Local, regional, and international news. Weather and sports.
I'm Randall Friesen and I manage Westwell Produce, better known as Granny's Foods. That's our main brand. So we offer high quality grains, beans, rice, and we also offer corn chips made from 100% locally grown corn. We saw a need for high quality locally produced products. A lot of the best products are being exported, and we said, we need to keep some of the best products here in Belize rather than export everything. Atlantic Bank has helped us achieve our goals by providing the financing for us to be able to launch products faster than we would without the financing that they offer. We find that Atlantic Bank is very customer friendly, especially with small and medium-sized businesses. We find that Atlantic Bank is more than willing to go the extra mile. They try to understand your business. So when we go to Atlantic Bank with a certain need, we find that they try to develop a solution that will meet our specific need. I would encourage any small business owner to go to Atlantic Bank for their financial services. They're very friendly, and just overall, their service is excellent.
Smart for everybody. Smart leading everything. Smart give you everything. Smart offer everything. Smart give you everything. North to the east and the south and the west. Smart are the best, darling. Double up my data and give me all the text. In fact, give me a plan for my family. Unlimited calls, so me like it. And Smart make everybody feel happy. Bringing people together, me want it now. Smart got love for everybody. Me want my Smart plan, want it right now. Me want my Smart plan, want it right now. More bundles, data plan. Me want my smartphone, internet in my hand. Call me want my Smart plan, want it right now. Smart. Stay connected, stay happy.
Amandala is now online. You can now access Amandala's midweek and weekend issues online by logging on to our website at amandala.com.bz/news and joining our membership portal today. There's 5 easy steps to get unlimited access to weekly e-paper, archive publications, and a host of other exclusive contents. Number 1, go to Amandala's website. Number 2, navigate to subscribed areas. Number 3, choose a membership level. Number 4, check out using our secured portal. Number 5, log into the members only section. Telephone numbers 501-280-4703 or 202-4477. Fax us at 501-222-4702, or you could email at amandalapress@yahoo.com or amandalapress@gmail.com. Amandala, all power to the people.
Welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. I've been gone for a little while, but I'm happy to be back. I'm very happy to be back. Our numbers here, 280-5848, 280-5848. You're welcome to call and to join us. Much things happening locally as well as internationally. I think what is affecting our prices besides the fuel is now the cost of those goods coming from Mexico. As you know, the cartels, who we used to think are only involved in drugs, then we hear they're involved in a cigarette, then we hear they're involved in a other enterprise, and now they're involved in extortion. Extortion means we hold you accountable for pay us for certain things that you must do, or else we have put some punishment on you. In this case, they're holding up goods that are normally coming in, goods that we depend on coming through Mexico, vegetables and many other goods that pass through Mexico. They hold up the trucks and refuse to have the trucks pass unless they pay them. As a result, as you heard in the news report, over 18 different containers were stopped. And I don't know if they paid it or whatever, but the goods have now been released. Obviously, some of them will spoil because if they've been sitting there for the time they've been sitting, especially vegetables, that's a very serious loss to those merchants that are importing. And obviously, as it is in capitalism, they pass on that cost on to us, the consumer. So that's a very serious situation. As you know, the Prime Minister reported that one of the things that he asked Mr. Rubio, the Secretary of State of the United States, for support for Belize to be able to handle this new situation that is the cartels. Welcome, caller.
Good morning, Nuri. Are you taking calls?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning and welcome, Sister Sandra.
Good morning. I am calling Nuri. Well, I want to link what you're talking about, but before I go there, I would like to go to the vote that took place in the United Nations yesterday.
Oh, yes.
On the declaration of the Atlantic slave trade as the gravest crime committed against humanity.
Yes, ma'am.
The figures, as I understand them to be, are 123 in favor, 52 against, 52 abstained, and 3 against.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 52 that abstained, the entire European bloc abstained. Mm-hmm. And their argument is that, yes, it is an extremely grave crime, but by calling it the gravest crime, you are then creating a hierarchy, which makes other crimes not as bad. And then the people who voted against it were the United States, Israel, and Argentina. Now, Nuri, I understand the vote. Yes, I support the vote, but my support has a caveat. Then, what about what was done to 100-odd million people in the New World when it was all over? Not even 1/10 of them remained. Well, at a maximum, 1/10 of them remained. They died from disease, which of course was not intentional. They died from being shot, which was intentional. As a matter of fact, on the shores of Cuba, the Taino Indians were used as practice targets for Spanish, the Spanish conquistadores. That is what happened in Cuba. When you look at the reservations in the United States, which we all forget about, those reservations are cesspools of the pain and horror that the native peoples confronted, because they were a Neolithic culture. They were a Stone Age culture, a new Stone Age culture, but they had not made it to the metal culture level. And so they couldn't resist these people who came with metal weapons and tools. They didn't have the wherewithal to challenge them. So this is, I understand the cause, and I can understand, I presume it's a convenient argument being used by the Europeans. My argument isn't convenient. My argument is, I take the position that when we are going to claim the pain, it must be everybody's pain. You know, Nuri, when you deal with Pentecostalists and Protestants, they do not accept a hierarchy of wrongdoing. They say all sin is all sin, but having come out of the Catholic tradition, I am accustomed to a hierarchy of wrongdoing. So in the Catholic faith, they define the venial sin and the mortal sin. And the venial sin, while it is a sin and it is wrong and punishment is due, the mortal sin is the graver sin. So I can understand the position of Europeans, but my call now is not to do that. It is to raise this matter. The Caribbean and Latin America have now been put under an operation called Operation Total Extermination. Have you heard that terminology, Nuri?
No, I see it in action, but I've not heard it phrased like that.
It has been given a name now.
Okay.
The bombing that took place of the farm in Ecuador, where they claimed that they found a warehouse full of drugs and no such thing happened. It happened to be a farm that was attacked and people were killed. It is the term has now been formalized for Latin America and the Caribbean as Operation Total Extermination. You can do a search on it.
Yeah.
It will come up. So the Mexican problem comes out of that. When they went into Mexico and joined, when the Mexican government decided to comply with the American government to supposedly exterminate the cartels, they hadn't yet come up with the formal name. But Nuri, why do we have the cartels? Why did drugs become such an important commodity in Latin America and the Caribbean?
Good question.
We have to ask that. We cannot just let anybody shove anything. I don't care. You see, again, as a Roman Catholic, as a child, I came to understand as a Roman Catholic child that there are times in your life when you must be prepared to die for what you believe in. Now, I'm not proposing people to die, nor I to die, but I learned that as a little girl, not even 7 years old, to the point that in dealing with my parents in a confrontation I had with them, I informed them that I was prepared to die than to comply. Thus, of course, I don't need to tell you, caused its own consternation in my parents and everything. But we learn that in school as children. So when you learn as a child that there are things in your life that you must be prepared to stand up for because those things are vital to your survival, those principles, values are vital, and you understand it as a child that death may come because you stand up for it, it becomes easier when you become an adult to not cave into no nonsense people bring you on the grounds that they will hurt you. Then hurt me then, but I am not going to cave in.
Yes.
Mexico has always been a hierarchical society. It has never been a society that equitably distributed resources. People at the top, a ruling class at the top, a small ruling class, That was so during the conquistador time, it was so after independence, and it is still so as we speak. And that is what has produced the cartels in Mexico. That is what, and then you think it was bad? It got 1,000,000 times worse with NAFTA. Are you aware of that or not, Nuri?
I am in agreement with that, yes.
Exactly. NAFTA pushed it over to the edge. When they began to establish the assembly factories called maquilas on the northern, a whole band across Monterrey, right across. Mexicans in their hundreds and thousands flocked there to get work, but at minimum pay. So what happened in Mexico is identical to what happened with the Canadians, who have done a calculation of their losses from selling petroleum across the border at adjusted prices. Billions, nearing $1 trillion. You see? And so the Mexicans gave cheap fuel and cheap labor. The Canadians also gave cheap labor, but not as cheap as the Mexicans. So we were subsidizing, the Mexicans were subsidizing and funding the good life across the border. No problem, but it came at the price of the Mexicans. And out of that would come the drug cartel, because now everything was being globalized, including recreational drugs. If you build a society where recreational drugs are at the center of that society, then what do you expect? That is why they're angry with the Islamic world, because the Islamic world prohibits the use of recreational drug in the form of alcohol and whatever else they want to sell them. They prohibit it. And they are angry that they cannot have a market there with those people who have a lot of money, and they feel some of that money should come to them for alcohol. You see? So this is what happened when the young in Mexico now at the bottom of the social ladder, battling to survive, migrate to the U.S., life not get better, then start to figure out maybe we could sell with drugs cross. The back of them boys like the drugs. Wall Street love the drugs. Silicon Valley love the drugs. I'm not talking nonsense. Look at what happened with the Nicaraguan revolution. It's the CIA, no less than the CIA, used cocaine sold in the streets of LA to young black youth who were murdered and slaughtered, to the point that the U.S. used the LA medical situation to train people in warfare medicine.
Yes, yes.
This is recorded in their Congress. This was investigated.
These are facts.
I'm not making this up. No, these people, all of this, the drug situation in Latin America, the gangs are a direct consequence of a new colonial era. They are the consequence of that. And what happened? All CARICOM leaders went to their CARICOM meeting and gave the Americans everything, even what they never asked for.
Yeah.
And the same people they gave everything that they never asked for went to the UN and voted that slavery was not a grave crime. That is what has happened in the UN.
Yeah.
Do we understand that? The United States of America, Israel, and Argentina voted that the Atlantic slave trade was not a grave crime.
And the U.S. has a veto power.
Crime, but it wasn't even the gravest. It wasn't grave at all. Pardon what you said.
I said that the U.S. has veto power, so that resolution will go nowhere.
This is in the General Assembly now.
Yes, yes.
If it moves to the Security Council, they will veto it.
Yes, sir.
But the point I'm making is that this Caribbean who got there and gave a grand speech yesterday on the matter is the same Caribbean that sat down in a meeting and gave in to a new enslavement and a new colonization. What's wrong with me, man? What's the matter with us? Hell, man, you mean all that went to the UN yesterday and gave grand speeches on the matter? You call up the file. But really, Stevens that had a meeting of CARICOM, then from CARICOM went to a summit in Miami and did the same thing. I am not angry with the Americans. I am not angry with them at all. It's with us, with our people. Man, you are telling me that you have not learned, you have no inheritance from that horror of the Atlantic slave trade. You have no inheritance from that? None at all? As I said, yes, I suspect the Europeans are doing it. I haven't heard all the arguments yet, but I heard a little portion from the French presenter. But I suspect that they had to look for a way to be Pontius Pilate, to neither be on the no nor on the yes, because they have Mr. Trump to deal with. So I suspect that. However, they make a point. They make a point that this is going to create a hierarchy of wrongdoing. Some will be worse than the others. And are you sure that the one that you have said is the worst is the worst? That is the problem there. I understand that in the context of the indigenous populations of the Americas. But setting that aside, we'll accept that it is a grave crime against humanity. And you can't admit that? Well, I don't have a problem. You can't admit it. But then my people go on there to support this thing when they did the exact opposite of that at their meeting of CARICOM just recently and in Miami just recently. Gosh, Nuri. The name of the thing is Operation Total Extermination. That is what they are doing to Cuba. One analyst that I read from the Caribbean says they don't want to kill people. I don't agree with him. He believes that it is a tiered structure of get rid of the allies, and that's all of that is correct. But we have a family problem. We have a waste disposal problem. Humans cause that. So if you can bring down the population of the planet, put the work into the hands of the robots, managed by AI and all of that, then you will reduce your human problem until you figure out how to create a new colony on another planet for the elites, and then you leave the balance who are there to cope with the mess on planet Earth. This is not imagination.
No.
Study the evidence. Am I right or wrong, Nuri?
I have to agree. I mean, sometimes we can't think that far, but what else? We've seen this depopulation process since the 60s. Some people say the 50s, that they've recognized that, look, we can't feed everybody. We can't take care of everybody. So might as well we allow disease to go wild, in fact, to manufacture some disease to do this depopulation process. So what you're presenting here is real. It's a modern day concept. But I think it's very difficult, though, Sandra, for us to think that wide, because we have not been nurtured educationally to be able to think that wide. We've been structured in this training program called education to only think according to what they want us to think. You see, you're a free mind, and I hope Belizeans can appreciate. And I'm not just saying this because you're online, but we don't think outside of the box. We call it this thinking out of the box. We don't think outside of the box. We jump from one box to the next box. When I listen to you and the broadness of your thing, it's very difficult, you know.
Speeches at the UN bodies, CARICOM and the African body. Now, let us understand something. The enslavement of Africans did not begin with the Europeans. None at all. Long before the first slaves brought by Europeans to the Americas took place, Africa has a long
Of course. No. There's slavery. Slavery is a human situation, but there's nothing that you can compare to that form of slavery that is called a chattel slavery that was orchestrated by the Europeans.
If you were living as a slave, then I'm sure it would have been pretty
well,
bad.
you know, I'm just looking, I'm just reading history.
But my reason for bringing it up is that it was a papal bull issued by Rome on the matter of the humanity, the humanhood of Africans. Long before 1492, it was issued, I think, around 1454, thereabouts, in the middle of the 15th century.
Yeah, you're talking about
began their expansion into the offshore Atlantic islands.
You're talking about Las Casas.
About what?
Las Casas was the name of well, he was a priest.
No,
yes.
Las Casas came afterwards.
Oh, I see.
He was one. But remember,
out of that process,
papal bull of the Pope was a complete contradiction of the very doctrine that the Christian church based in Rome had articulated about 400 years before.
And it was
St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Thomas Aquinas articulated the humanity. He articulated informal structure, the shared humanity of all humans. He articulated it in the Summa Theologica. So when they did that in 1450 or wherever, there was nobody to take on the Pope and say, man, but you're wrong. Go back to the Summa. The Summa tells you that all humans are made in the image of God. Now, I'm not going to argue about the image of God part. All humans have a common sharing. In that case, he said it was the sharing of the image of God. But he acknowledged the common inheritance of all humans. You see?
Yeah,
so
but Sandra just...
that papal bull, that papal bull was wrong, and it was addressed specifically in its first instance to Africa. And then that bull would be transported across the Atlantic to deal with the New World population.
Wasn't that also when you talk about all humans, there were people on the planet that were not considered humans? Africans being one of them.
Read the Summa Theologica, no. St. Thomas Aquinas articulated all humans.
So how did they justify then?
Before. Because remember, don't forget that Christianity did not spread north to Europe first. It spread west to North Africa. North Africa would produce some of the greatest Christian minds of all time. St. Augustine of Hippo, his mother St. Monica, the bishop from Egypt, the Coptic Christians in Egypt, all of North Africa. And popes came out of North Africa.
Yeah. But I read it a little bit differently, and certainly I know your studies, but I didn't see Christianity coming out of Europe. I saw Christianity coming into Europe because it was established by people.
I mean coming into Europe. I didn't mean coming. It didn't come out of Europe. It came out of the Middle East.
Okay, yeah.
It went into the Asian islands. So you have the legend of Mary Magdalene bringing down the statues at the church in Ephesus. Because of them, she did not subscribe to the use of statues because there were no statues in the temple. So those people who had come from Judaism were not accustomed to having no picture and no form and nothing name God. No, that was not prohibited. That was prohibited, totally prohibited. As well as it is that caused the zealots to take on the Romans in the final confrontation. But my worry, Ruby and Nuri, is we need a broad view on this thing because our leadership is going to walk us into the concentration camps of the new order of the Fourth Reich. We We've gone through the Third Reich. We know what that was about. We are now walking into the Fourth Reich, whether we want to accept it, admit it or not. There are people in Europe and in North America who are accepting that. I definitely accept. I don't need to accept it. I already recognize it.
Yeah,
this is the Fourth Reich, man.
Yeah, what is interesting is that when a very similar resolution was passed, looking at the inhumanity against the Jews, there was no objection to that from the United States or others. They went along with saying that is the worst sin that you could ever do to a human being was to attempt to exterminate them.
They had to do that one because they, the European Christians, had been the monster in the Jewish closet.
Yeah, they went along.
The Europeans.
Yeah.
So in order to make their wrong right in the Middle East, they had to do that. Because you study the laws that were written in Europe. Many of the laws that are criminalizing behavior, everyone always criminalizes. As a matter of fact, when the Black Plague attacked Europe, at a point in time, they claimed that the Jews were spreading the Black Plague. The Pope himself had to get involved and say, but no, man, you know, then the dead.
Yeah.
They're dying too, so how the hell they will be the ones that are causing the plague? Literally, the Pope had to get in and point that out. So the Jews' separation in Christian Europe was no small matter. No small matter at all.
Great history, sister, but I'm going to have to ask for a break on this because...
Yes, I'm going now. I'm
Go
just falling on this matter of CARICOM's dishonesty, utter dishonesty. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. It's 27 minutes now after 7 o'clock. We'll take the break for 2 Cents Cam with Brick City, and it's brought to you by Fort Point Security. I think I hear our guests already here. Please stay tuned.
Watching WUB, and this is XTV. I gotta say a big respect to our sponsors, 4 Point Security. Most of the time we always talk about crimes and show some of the horrible things that happen in the crime world. But today we're going to show something positive and find out that you can in 2 cents where they couldn't do anything beside the door, within the door. Something positive. Let's go find out that you can in 2 cents and why they do what they do. Get trouble, right? You don't get trouble. What class you in now?
Third form.
Third form. Where you want to be in life?
A technician.
That's your 2 cents. All right. Where you want to be in life?
I'll be a drummer boy, man.
What drummer boy?
Yes, sir.
That's where you want to be. That's your 2 cents.
Yes, sir.
Where you want to be?
A drum leader.
A drum leader. That's where you want to be? All right. You want to be in life?
A police.
Why?
I want to serve and protect my country.
You want to arrest everybody? We're just... Where you? All right. Where you want to be in life?
I want to be a BDF.
A BDF?
Yes, sir.
To serve your country?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's your 2 cents.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Habet and Abet and Brothers Abet, we've always proudly celebrated Women's Month. This year, we celebrate women keeping the balance at home, at work, and in their communities. That's why all March long, all women receive 15% off store-wide, from paints to plumbing and everything in between. Plus, 20 to 65% off lots more deals on sale and clearance. With trusted experience, top quality products, and service that's second to none, we're here to support women every step of the way. Visit or call us today. Happy Women's Month from all of us at Habet and Brothers Abet, doing our part to balance the scales.
En Atlantic Bank, tu comodidad es nuestra prioridad. Nuestro centro de contacto está diseñado para mejorar tu experiencia bancaria. Con una amplia gama de opciones de servicio al cliente, ahorras tiempo y esfuerzo. puedes llamar fácilmente para bloquear o desbloquear tus tarjetas de débito y crédito, realizar consultas de cuentas y acceder a información detallada de tus tarjetas. Ya sea que necesites asistencia con la banca en línea, apoyo para comercios o consultas generales, nuestro equipo está listo para ayudarte. Para mayor comodidad, si todos los operadores están ocupados, puedes dejar tu número y un operador te devolverá la llamada lo antes posible para asegurarse de que recibas el apoyo que necesitas. Para mayor seguridad, es posible que necesitemos verificar tu identidad con un conjunto de preguntas sencillas. Recuerda, Atlantic Bank nunca solicitará tu nombre de tu usuario ni contraseña de Atlantic Online por llamada telefónica, mensaje de texto o correo electrónico, asegurando que tu información personal permanezca segura y protegida. Nuestro equipo de apoyo está disponible de lunes a viernes, de 8 a.m. a 6 p.m., en inglés y en español. Simplemente marca al 223-1212. Esta es la línea dedicada para nuestro centro de contacto. Atlantic Bank se compromete a brindarte un servicio excepcional y las herramientas que necesitas para administrar tus finanzas de manera conveniente y segura. Aprovecha al máximo nuestro servicio del centro de contacto.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Smart for everybody. Smart leading everything. Smart give you everything. Smart offer everything. Smart give you everything. North to the east and the south and the west. Smart are the best, darling. Double up my data and give me all the text. In fact, give me a plan for my family. Unlimited calls, so me like it. And Smart make everybody feel happy. Bringing people together, me want it now. Smart got love for everybody. Me want my Smart plan, want it right now. Me want my Smart plan, want it right now. More bundles, data plan. Me want my smartphone, internet in my hand. Call me want my Smart plan, want it right now. Smart. Stay connected, stay happy.
Tired of appliances that just don't last? Appliances that just can't keep up? It's time for a change. GE Appliances delivers reliability, innovation, and performance you can trust. The decision is easy. Don't settle for less. Choose quality, choose reliability, choose GE.
I want to share why this work is so urgent. My mother is 75 years old. She's blind. She has lived by the sea for 75 years. Today, my mother cannot see the stones you guys are placing to protect her home. But she can hear. Every night she sits in her home and hear the waves beating at her door. To most people, that song is peaceful. But to my mother, the song is a countdown. It is the song of the land she loves being stolen inch by inch. For years, the song has been a dark shadow over our lives. I look at our student here today, their bright little faces. We need your help to make sure that when these children grow up to be 75, they are sitting in their homes and aren't afraid of the sea.
The whole design of the T is to catch the sand as it walks past Monkey River. Literally what you see is the sand comes from the river, goes out to sea. The sea was clogged with mud and sand, so the river now pushed the sand out like it used to. One, we have less flooding. We have a lot of drainage on the way to Monkey River. The water is not there, so, but as you can see, we've moved the sand over. Now nature will walk it down with time.
There is an area between the burial ground and where the village is that needs some attention as well, and so it will be addressed right away, since PM has approved some additional finance to continue the project in Monkey River.
I am very proud that Minister Osman Martinez, the area representative, along with Oscar Kenya, they saw the necessity, one as the area representative and one as the Minister of Rural Transformation. And then along with the support from my office that we managed to do this, showed us that we just need to put a little bit more investment and we can do the entire area. So I said, you know what, give me an estimate, we're going to do it. We are going to save Monkey River village and going to make it into one of the more beautiful villages in the country.
Look here, your kitchen light there and you been in the kitchen. But I'm going back in there right now. And the coffee maker? Just to try keep my coffee warm for later. What do you do now? I'll try to think about what to eat. You know the more you open or close the fridge, it takes longer for the food cool. For a hot day like today, it burns more energy. You charge your phone right now? No. Plug it out then. You really only wash 2 Lee socks and 1 Lee shirt? You don't know what small load burn the same amount of electricity as large loads? But this is my favorite shirt. You have to be more energy efficient. Use large loads. This AC they blow hard. You know, if you keep the temperature at 25 degrees Celsius or higher, you burn less energy and you also keep the place cool. And for a nice day like today, turn off the AC, open up the house and make some fresh breeze come in.
You know what? I think I get it now. As consumers, we need to be more energy efficient and practice energy conservation.
When the job demands more, Milwaukee Power Tools are designed to handle the toughest jobs on the construction site. If it's speed, durability, and performance you need, Milwaukee is the perfect choice. For unstoppable power at an unbeatable price, make it Milwaukee. Nothing but heavy duty. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. And as I said in the early part of the program, and you know we are always careful when we announce guests way before they come because all kind of thing could happen. Sometimes it's a legitimate excuse, but sometimes it's cold fat and horse dead why they can't come in. But our brother honored us from the time we asked him a month ago. He said he would come after he's finished his long journeys here and there. And we'd set a time and he honored this, and I appreciate having Francis Fonseca. He's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Education, Culture, Niche, and if I forget another portfolio, it seems as though he's one of those cabinet ministers obviously valued by the Prime Minister. So he's been I don't want to call one dumping ground, but he certainly has put a lot of emphasis on the value of Mr. Fonseca. Thank you for being here, Minister.
No, thank you very much, Brother Nuri. Thank you for the kind invitation. It's been a while that I've been here behind the zinc fence, but always a great pleasure. So good morning to you, and good morning to your listeners and viewers across the country.
Well, I appreciate your coming in, and there are some questions that I think we need to ask you, especially as Foreign Minister, since Belize is no longer an insular society. We are very much involved in what's going on regionally and internationally. So let's start with this present circumstance of Mexican cartels doing extortion of goods coming into Belize. Can you give us an overview and update on that?
Yeah, well, that challenge along the Mexican border has been an ongoing challenge for governments of Belize. But certainly we, based on the intelligence and data that our national security personnel have prepared for us, we note that certainly over the last decade, there has been a significant uptick in the organized criminal activity taking place in that area of the border. Now this is, of course, on the Mexican side of the border, where there is organized narco trafficking, but that organized narco trafficking also flows into lots of legitimate sort of business practices that are taking place along the border on the Mexican side. So we have recognized this from the day we came into office in 2020. In our first briefing, that was recognized as a critical challenge to our national security and to our social and economic security as well. So it's been a priority for us from the very beginning. And I think, as the Prime Minister has said publicly on many occasions, if there's one issue that really keeps us up at night, it's that issue of the threat of these organized criminal, narco trafficking organizations to our society. These are, as you well know, these are well-funded, well-organized, well-armed entities, and in our small society, we are challenged in terms of how we can respond. But in terms of the good news, in terms of the existing challenge that we were facing over the past week or so, is that we were able to resolve that issue with the help of the Mexican government at the very highest levels. Through the Prime Minister's office and through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we engaged with the office of the President of Mexico. It's not the first time that we've had to engage on this particular issue, so they know the issue well, they understand the challenges. Just a few months ago, or sometime last year, the Prime Minister had to personally call President Sheinbaum to get her help in terms of stabilizing things along the border and in terms of challenges we were facing in the free zone, the Cartels free zone. And at that time, she had ordered, I think, about 10,000 troops to the border as an immediate reaction to that. And that helped to stabilize the situation, you know, and for a few months. The troops, of course, could not stay there permanently. They were moved out. And we've seen a rebuilding of the narco trafficking organizations there. So we're approaching it the same way, talking to our Mexican counterparts. Our national security team is working very closely with them. You know, and so we're happy that they responded, and again, they have sent in some support teams, and we have been able to reopen the flow of goods and the traffic of goods through to Belize.
But you seem to have moved beyond just a request from President Sheinbaum and gone now to the United States, because the Prime Minister had addressed it with, according to the report, with Mr. Rubio. What exactly are we asking Rubio and the United States to do in combating this?
Yeah, well, as you know, Belize has had a long-standing partnership with the United States government. The great bulk of the work that they do in Belize is about security, because that's a priority for them. So they work very closely with our security forces. They work closely with the BDF, the Coast Guard, the Belize Police Department, Customs and Immigration. In terms of our relationship with the US, that is essentially where our partnership is grounded, in those areas, for very real reasons. So what we're asking for is support for those institutions, so that we can strengthen our own capacity to respond to these challenges. Now, as you know, it's no secret, the United States government has made it very clear that you know, narco trafficking for them is a priority issue in the Western Hemisphere. We've seen what they've been doing in the Caribbean Sea. You know, they have indicated to us, listen, we want to provide greater support to any effort that's aimed at tackling narco traffickers in the Western Hemisphere, in the Caribbean, in Central America. And so that's what we're working with them on. How can we partner, and how can we work together to support our own internal national security plan, which recognizes that this is a threat to Belize. So how can you support that? How can you help us to upgrade the capacity of our immigration officers, our customs officers, our BDF, our Coast Guard? We need more vessels so that we can patrol our seas and monitor the border effectively. Same with the BDF. How can you help? I mean, practical things. So how can you help? You know, there's a lot of new technology that can help you to monitor these things, instead of having 20 BDF soldiers just to walk up and down in the bush, very often with very minimal impact and effectiveness. So how can we do that in a more...
Expand drones,
right,
etc. But it appears that most of what you're talking about is military or security base. But these cartels appears to be moving more economically. The influence of invasion into our economy in the free zone. Is it just military help that we're looking for, or other forms of detection of what they're doing in that area?
Yeah, no. I mean, as I said, it's not. That's why I made the point of saying that it's not just about BDF, Coast Guard, police, but also our customs, our immigration officers, and customs deals with the free zone, our border management authorities, you know, as well. Again, the capacity building is critically important. And also we have a national security directorate, right? Which is headed by our Director of National Security, Ambassador Oliver Del Cid. So again, how can we strengthen the capacity of the national security team, so that we can do better data gathering, intelligence gathering. It's, yes, military, because the border is a critical issue. And what we want to avoid is having these criminal organizations, these transnational criminal organizations, coming into Belize. So far, we've been lucky. They continue to operate outside of Belize, but it's impacting Belize. But we want to avoid them coming into Belize.
These traffickers, they continue to have narco trafficking, the name stuck on them, but it reminds me of the mafia, who back in the 20s and the 30s were very much involved in firepower, and they had to need police to really deal with them. But they evolved into a very strong economic force. In fact, they used to curse those who were still in the backward dealing with guns, since they were at Wall Street and Madison Avenue, etc. And it appears that this narco trafficking, as we continue to call them, has advanced in now to business people who are infiltrating at so many different levels, not only in the north, but in so many other loopholes. In fact, money laundering, etc., etc. So how would you respond to that?
Yeah, no, that's an absolutely valid point. As you know, you talked about, you referenced the mafia. As you know, at the end of the day, it was not really criminal activity in terms of they were notorious for very heinous
drive-by
killings. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was really the financial crimes that brought them down, the financial network. And so you're absolutely right, and we recognize that in terms of these, as you label them, the narco-trafficking organizations, but they're also involved, by the way, big business is human trafficking too. The smuggling of refugees and people seeking asylum, and so very, very tragic, very tragic.
But we're also dealing with, and I'm really trying to move into, there's a lot of businesses going on in Belize, and people are asking, where all this big money coming? When they say big building, they come up and etc. Are we concerned about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's, we have to, I think, we have to be concerned about it. But that's why we have, for example, the Financial Intelligence Unit. These are creatures we've created over,
Wouldn't that be an area where the Americans need to help us to bolster that and to be more detective of what's going on in our
they do. We do work with them on those areas. We do work with them on those areas. But again, the point you're making is an extremely important one. It is a fact that, in terms of the Mexican cartels, for example, they are involved in a lot of, trying to clean up their money. And they do that through legitimate businesses. Many times, unwanted investments in people's companies. They come in and kind of force their way into your company.
And they look very legitimate.
I mean,
could we move, Minister, because I know we only have a short time, to Cuba?
Yes.
It is known that Cuba has been a friend not only to Belize, but the entire region, if not the world, in fact. But now we're seeing that Cuba is under extreme pressure. And not only this 60-year plus embargo by the United States, but now it seems to be in the crosshair of this particular administration in the United States to destroy Cuba. And we as developing countries who owe a great debt to Cuba are now being told that we cannot show the same kind of accommodation and friendship to them as we did in the past. As foreign minister in charge of kind of juggling that, because I could only sense the difficulty of trying to do that, how do you manage that? Because you're basically being told to disrespect your friends on behalf of a friend. How do you choose that?
Yeah, well, first, we place on the record our absolute respect and acknowledgement Cuba's long friendship and partnership with Belize. As you rightly said, that goes back many decades. As you know, Cuba was one of the first countries to recognize Belize's right to sovereignty and territorial integrity. They have supported us every step of the way through independence, and they have been a good friend and partner, as you pointed out, to CARICOM and to Africa, right, in particular, providing a lot of development support to our countries. In Belize, in particular, in the areas of health and education, they have been good partners in helping us to improve the quality of education in Belize and improve the health of our people, especially in rural communities. So we always make that very clear, that we acknowledge that, we respect that, we thank Cuba for that.
But is there a but behind that?
No, yeah, I'm saying, and we continue, and I'm making the point that we continue to maintain very firmly our principled position on Cuba, that the embargo, the long-standing embargo, we view that as unjust. We view it as illegal, and we have called consistently for that embargo to be lifted, as well as this designation of Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism. That I think a lot of people do not recognize, how having that applied on top of the embargo and the sanctions, how that has really crippled the Cuban economy over the last, I think, 10 years that has been in place, that designation, because that effectively means nobody can do business with Cuba. Nobody. You can't, that has been in place for a long time, because if you do business with them, you're doing business with a terrorist organization, a terrorist state.
Yeah.
So even just last September at the United Nations, the Prime Minister addressed the United Nations on behalf of Belize, and he again repeated that firm position in terms of the embargo and the designation of state sponsor, and called for those to be lifted and removed. So, in terms of the current relationship, I think, what we have to recognize and acknowledge, whether we like it or not, is that the administration, the United States administration, they have a very different view of Cuba than CARICOM has, a very different view. So you could pretend that doesn't exist, but that's the reality. That is their view, and we have to understand their view. We share our view on Cuba with them. As I said, we continue to advocate for these things. And then in terms of practical issues, like the Cuban Medical Brigade, we try to work with Cuba. What Cabinet, and I've said this publicly so I can repeat it here, what Cabinet has instructed in terms of the brigade is for us to, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to look at different options that may be available in terms of how we can work with the Cuban government to keep, where if possible, to keep the medical brigade in Belize.
So are we sending them home as Rubio is requesting of all states in the region, or are we going to stand ground and say, no, there's a principle here, we are going to keep these people?
We are working with the Cubans to see what are the best options. As you may know, the Cubans themselves are in discussions with the United States government. Yes. They are engaged. When we met with Secretary Rubio in St. Kitts, the CARICOM heads met with him. He was very frank about their position. They view Cuba entirely differently. And he said, listen, we are engaged with Cuba. We want to work with Cuba. but we believe that there has to be changes in terms of they believe that the system has not worked for the Cuban people that is in place in Cuba, and they point to the leadership in Cuba and their government, not to the sanctions and to the designations. So they have a different view. We have to understand that, and we have to work with them. So it's, as I said, it's about looking at different options, discussing in a respectful way with Cuba, as they are doing with many other countries in the region. We want the doctors, the medical professionals to stay in Belize. We want to continue to work, to have them help us to support our health system. So we have to do it in a planned, responsible way.
But Minister, as you know, the President and by extension his Secretary of State, they have a very boisterous type of almost bully kind of policy internationally. It's not only here in Belize, the very way that man addresses international issues is as though the boss, the top, and clearly it puts us as small, vulnerable countries in a very ticklish position as to how do we navigate those kinds of pressures. So the question really remains, are we going to cow to that pressure and eventually send the brigade home? Because that's what they're not looking for you to come to know. They've already told us what they want. And some countries, Jamaica for example, have capitulated and they are sending these people home, despite the fact that the Cubans, as you know, during the time of Michael Manley, played such a pivotal role in Jamaica, as they did with Belize. So are we going to stand up to Goliath and say, no, we have our own policy in terms of how we deal with this, or will we eventually capitulate?
Well, I don't think that those are the two choices, the only two choices about standing up or capitulating. We have a responsibility as a government to always act in the national interest, right? We have to be guided by what is in the national interest. I've learned, over my many years in government and public service, that we don't have the luxury of being romantic about, how we approach governance. We have to be practical, we have to be pragmatic, we have to be guided by what is in the national interest. So we always look for opportunities. How can we get the best results for the people of Belize out of these opportunities? So you are right. The United States has their stated position. They have not, tried to disguise that in any way. They've made it clear. We have an America First policy, and we are keen on reestablishing, in using their words, dominance in the Western Hemisphere. That is their stated position.
No, that is
they have not tried to disguise that in any way.
Yes, sir.
Then what do countries in the region do? How do we respond to that? We can't hide from it. We have to face it. We have to understand it. And then we have to make sure that we are working through our various alliances to respond to that. That's why it's critically important, I think more than ever. Multilateralism is more important now than ever. Our alliances with CARICOM, our alliances with Central America, SICA, our alliances, even I just came back. Sometimes we don't like the Commonwealth because of what it represents, the colonial history, but therein lies a block of 56 countries, very like-minded in many respects, facing the same challenges. And so we had a very rigorous discussion about these challenges and exchanging of notes. How can we work together to respond to these changing circumstances, the changing global order? And so that's the approach we're taking, and that's why I'm saying the options are not the extremes.
It's not clear black and white.
Or stand up and beat your chest. It's about how do we find some middle ground.
Okay.
And my final point on this is my own view, based on my discussions with the United States government, with and their representatives here and in the U.S., the State Department. I find them, and I'm really sincere about this, I find them to be pragmatic as well. They want to see how we can find solutions. It's not a either or. Yes, you see some of the, as you describe it, the strongman rhetoric, the public, but in discussions and sitting around the table, even as I said with Secretary Rubio in St. Kitts, a very sort of pragmatic approach. Listen, we understand the challenges. We understand the role that the Cuban brigades have played in your countries and in rural communities. So if there is a way to find solutions, then let's work together and do so.
All right. We'll take another break and we'll come back. Our guest, of course, is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Francis Fonseca.
is transforming the way taxes are managed with the Semi-Autonomous Revenue Authority, a modern system built on flexibility, efficiency, and accountability. SAR will have its own human resource policies, ensuring faster hiring, fairer opportunities, and competitive pay that rewards performance. The SARA will also manage its own budget, making it easier to fund what matters most: better technology, improved taxpayer services, and stronger enforcement when needed. With this flexibility comes responsibility. Independent audits, public reports, and parliamentary oversight will ensure full transparency. SARA's transparency, flexibility, and efficiency will ensure smarter decision-making, better taxpayer service, and responsible use of public funds. SARA, flexibility to serve you better, accountability to serve you right.
Rotavirus is a leading cause of severe watery diarrhea and vomiting in young children. It can lead to dangerous dehydration and hospital visits. The good news? The rotavirus vaccine is now available countrywide. It is given in drops at 2, 4, and 6 months of age. Protect your child. Visit your nearest health clinic today.
Nando's Wholesale is your market leader in Belize's wholesale industry when it comes to high-quality products at the most reasonable and competitive prices. With over 40 years in the wholesale business, Nando's Wholesale embraces the partnership of the hotel industry in Belize by providing world-renowned brands in wines, seasonings, condiments, and cleaners in industrial sizes, as well as small and large kitchen appliances and equipment. Nando's also takes pride in providing one of the quietest and most durable air conditioning systems in Belize with technical support and spare parts. Nando's Wholesale. Professional, reliable, effective, and prompt. Nando's Wholesale always delivers. Visit us at www.nandos.bz or send an email to nandos@nandos.bz. Or, even better yet, Give us a call today at 222-500 or 280-8080 to speak to one of our sales representatives.
Belize is transforming the way taxes are managed with the Semi-Autonomous Revenue Authority, a modern system built on flexibility, efficiency, and accountability. SAR will have its own human resource policies, ensuring faster hiring, fairer opportunities, and competitive pay that rewards performance. The SARA will also manage its own budget, making it easier to fund what matters most: better technology, improved taxpayer services, and stronger enforcement when needed. With this flexibility comes responsibility. Independent audits, public reports, and parliamentary oversight will ensure full transparency. SARA's transparency, flexibility, and efficiency will ensure smarter decision-making, better taxpayer service, and responsible use of public funds. SARA, flexibility to serve you better, accountability to serve you right.
Rotavirus is a
right, our guest is the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs. He is Francis Fonseca. Most of you know him. He's a down-to-earth brother, and we are thankful that he's here with us, answering some questions that you are asking. Some of you presented some of these questions to me, and I'm placing it to him. Let's go to State Bank. Here we have a group, I should say, let me narrow it down to the husband and wife team of Mike and Melita Freenstein, who are really not only Belizean investors that have proven themselves to be legitimate, genuine investors, but friends of the party. They have been donors to help to make the party what it is. And here it is that they not only were strong supporters and friends of the party, but they've got into a quagmire there where the government did not seem to come to their aid as investors, and it appears that it did not support the fact that they were in the process legally of losing their investment. Can you comment on what government's position is in regards to the State Bank project?
Well, I'm limited in terms of how I can discuss the State Bank project because it is a legal matter before the courts. So there's a lot of ongoing litigation. The government is a part of that litigation. So, I have to be very, very careful. First and foremost, that's, as you pointed out, this started out with a private sector matter between the Feinstein Group and I think the bank, Atlantic Bank. So that's the genesis of the issue. And after a number of years of that ongoing challenge, the government stepped in to try to find a resolution, I think. And I think the government in that process made, I think, some extraordinary efforts to present solutions, very mutually beneficial solutions to all involved. So I think we were disappointed that those were not advanced further than they could have been in our view. But in terms of, I can speak to it in terms of a foreign policy issue now, because it has become caught up in foreign policy because of letters being sent to the Secretary of State, letters being sent to the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Mass.
And he's responding.
Yeah, he responded by sending a letter to Secretary Rubio.
Yes.
So I think our government has tried to respond responsibly by writing both to the Congress, the Foreign Affairs House Committee, and to Secretary Rubio, setting out our position in very great detail. We provided them with the context and background of this entire matter. Of course, our concern is that we reject any claims that there is some investment climate that is targeting any individuals. First of all, this does not involve any U.S. investor. These are Belizeans, as you rightly pointed out. And I should make it very clear. I've known Mike Finstein a long time, and I like Mike. I have great respect for him. You're absolutely right that he has been a pioneer in many areas in Belize, in terms of tourism, in terms of aquaculture and other areas. So I always have great respect for people, Belizeans, who are prepared to invest in their country and help to grow and develop the country.
So why didn't the government, more robust way, come to his aid?
Well, I mean, again, I don't want to get all these things.
I know it's legal.
All these things can form a part of the record when you get into court. But my point is, which I was trying to make earlier, that I don't think, and we can't share publicly, but government made, I think, as I said, I'm not exaggerating when I say extraordinary efforts to find a resolution to this matter. And that would, in our view, benefit all the parties involved, find solutions. So government placed on the table, I think, very, very good, reasonable response offers for a resolution of this matter. And for whatever reasons, those were not advanced. Those were not accepted, they were not advanced. And so we are where we are in terms of this legal quagmire that's ongoing and unfortunately can go on for many more years. So
it is unfortunate because I had an opportunity to work with a friend, Stans, in doing some training for that State Bank project. And I can tell you that they were very interested in using local, ordinary Belizeans with an opportunity to be a part of that project. So it is disheartening to see a project like that stalled. But going on to staying in the area of tourism now, the Port of Belize is now owned by the government of Belize. But while it was under Ashcroft, you had objections from NIAC and other environmentalists who were saying that a project like that, with the plans that were presented by Ashcroft, could not work in that area without significant environmental damage that would be caused to that area. What are you, meaning the government, doing different now as the owners in terms of making that project go through, knowing that this is the background coming from NIAC and other environmentalists?
Yeah, well, what we're doing is we have developed, and it's evolving, of course, a comprehensive strategic plan for the port. Without question, I don't think anybody will argue with the fact that the country, in terms of our future economic development, we need both a cruise port and a container port. Those are critical elements to the future national development of Belize, the economic development of Belize. So we start from a point. We know that. So how do we achieve that? And that has to be based on a comprehensive strategic plan for the development of that port. It's going to be a huge project, It will require public-private partnerships, right? So we own the port. We stepped in because nothing was happening there. Absolutely nothing was happening at the port. It was a wasteland, and no investment in this critical feature of our economy. So we felt we had an absolute obligation as a government, responsibility to step in and deal with that matter. So we acquired the port, and now we are advancing to, as I said, put together that strategic plan for the development of the port, investment in the port. And a critical feature of that strategic plan for the development of the port is the environmental process, making sure that that whole EIA NIAC process is fully ventilated, fully exhausted, and that there are proper consultations that take place. So I think those consultations are on the way, they have started. So we will absolutely ensure that all of the environmental concerns that have been raised are addressed, and that we've had a very rigorous discussion about that already in cabinet. But we have to make sure that we do it right.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said, a strategic plan is in place to move.
We saw Mr. Gegg last night on TV pretty much surfacing the same thing that was brought forward by the NIAC and other environmentalists about the effluent that would come out of that. Clearly, he has his own agenda because he's working on trying to get his port also established. But there is a very strong concern as to what may happen in that area as a result of that digging that will take place. Have you gotten the approval from these environmentalists in regards to the project itself, or are you still involved in that consultation?
Yeah, I think some approvals have been granted, but I think again there's an ongoing process. So I think a lot more has to be done. Still, a lot more will be done in that regard. To ensure that, as I said, that all of these concerns that have been raised about the environment, I think, some of them are being overstated. Again, the professionals, like people talk about the digging that will have to take place. Some of the professionals have already told us that that's grossly exaggerated in terms of what will be necessary.
What about the stevedores? The stevedores were in deadlock when it was under the leadership of Ashcroft. But now that it has been changed from the news reports that we're getting, the stevedores still seem to be aggrieved that they are not really being treated properly by the new management. So the government was coming to the aid of the stevedores during the time of the Ashcroft ownership. But now the government is the owner of the port, and the stevedores are still complaining. Can you comment on that?
Well, we've provided tremendous support to the stevedores over there, as you rightly pointed out, even under the former ownership. We stepped in on more than one occasion to find solutions, and in many cases it involved financial solutions.
Yes.
At a great cost to the government, we're talking millions of dollars. So we've stepped in. I've not heard at all, I have to say, that there are ongoing challenges with the stevedores. My understanding is that the current board has been working with them. I know they had some challenges with the management, but I think our instructions, many months ago, was that they would put together a sort of subcommittee of the board that would engage directly with them on specific concerns that they had.
Yeah, but what would the plan be for them? Are they going to be phased out and paid off, or are they going to be retrained, to be refitted, so to speak? I hate to use that mechanical term, for this new port, or what's the plan?
No. Remember, as I said, this is not just a cruise port. This is a cruise and container port. Okay. So it's absolutely no question of phasing out. In fact, we'll need more stevedores, but they will require retooling and retraining, because a modern container port requires a greater use of technology and tools, technological tools, which many of these stevedores can be retrained and retooled.
Have you started that retraining now, since it will take some time before that port becomes a reality? Is that already in place?
No, but that's a part of the comprehensive plan. The sport project will take, about, as I understand it, about 3.5 years.
Right.
So you're talking about, there'll be time for that. But as I understand it, that is a part of the strategic plan.
I see. All right, let's take another break, and when we come back, we'll continue. We still have to talk about Guatemala, the ICJ, and many other areas. So please stay tuned.
I want to share why this work is so urgent. My mother is 75 years old. She's blind. She has lived by the sea for 75 years. Today, my mother cannot see the stones you guys are placing to protect her home. But she can hear Every night she sits in her home and hear the waves beating at her door. To most people, that song is peaceful, but to my mother, the song is a countdown. It is the song of the land she loves being stolen inch by inch. For years, the song has been a dark shadow over our lives. I look at our student here today, their bright little faces. We need your help to make sure that when these children go up to be 75, they are sitting in their homes and aren't afraid of the sea.
The whole design of the T is to catch the sand as it walks past Monkey River. Literally what you see is the sand comes from the river, goes out to sea. The sea was clogged with mud and sand, so the river now pushed the sand out like it used to. One, we have less flooding. We have a lot of drainage on the way to Monkey River. The water is not there, but as you can see, we've moved the sand over. Now nature will walk it down with time.
There is an area between the burial ground and where the village is that needs some attention as well, and so it will be addressed right away since PM has approved some additional finance to continue the project in Monkey River.
I am very proud that Minister Osman Martinez, the area representative, along with Oscar Kenya, they saw the necessity, one as the area representative and one as the Minister of Rural Transformation. And then along with the support from my office that we managed to do this, showed us that we just need to put a little bit more investment and we can do the entire area. So I said, you know what, give me an estimate, we're going to do it. We are going to save Monkey River village and going to make it into one of the more beautiful villages in the country.
My name is Mrs. Esther Smith. I'm a co-owner of A Glimpse of Paradise gift shop here at Altoona, booth number 13. And me and my husband have to offer some of the most finest wood products here in Belize, all hand done by him. And these products are made from some of the most beautiful, finest and hardest wood here in our country. I first started at Atlantic Bank as went there to start a saving account. From there, I have my checking account with the POS machine. And then it becomes more like a family to me because there are personnel from Atlantic Bank that will always come here, check with us, make sure everything is okay, clean our machine, and they will always ensure that we have bundles. My advice to anybody that wants to choose Atlantic Bank to be their bank is that don't be afraid. You won't have any regret. Atlantic Bank, you will find them to be very efficient, reliable, and competent.
Nando's Wholesale is your market leader in Belize's wholesale industry when it comes to high quality products at the most reasonable and competitive prices. With over 40 years in the wholesale business, Nando's Wholesale embraces the partnership of the hotel industry in Belize by providing world-renowned brands in wines, seasonings, condiments, and cleaners in industrial sizes, as well as small and large kitchen appliances and equipment. Nando's also takes pride in providing one of the quietest and most durable air conditioning systems in Belize with technical support and spare parts. Nando's Wholesale. Professional, reliable, effective, and prompt. Nando's Wholesale always delivers. Visit us at www.nandos.bz or send an email to nandos@nandos.bz. Or, even better yet, give us a call today at 222-500 or 280-8080 to speak to one of our sales representatives today.
That's a train.
Me too.
Me lost the train.
Me too.
Whether you are a busy person or stuck in traffic or having an adverse or very demanding circumstance, tension builds up, causing you to be stressed out. Stress attacks everyone, anytime, any age. And stress is a killer. Palm City? It's best to be alive than dead. So visit Freetown Drugstore to get options to relieve stress and to relax your mind.
This time, what can I do for you today?
I'm so stressed out.
Okay, I'm saying I help you right now. When I this daily, for 10 days, I am good after that, okay?
Okay.
Freetown Drugstore, 28 Freetown Road, where you are better off alive than dead. Freetown Drugstore, telephone 223-2876.
Welcome back, and we still have some time to talk with Minister of Minister of Foreign Affairs. And we want to look at the recent move at the ICJ, where Guatemala wanted to attach itself to the claim of Honduras and was allowed to do it. And I heard your response, but I'd like you to share with our audience, what was your response to Guatemala being asked to be a part of that claim of the Zapadilli? Weren't they already a part of claiming Zapadilli in their ICJ claim? Why the need to attach themselves to the Honduran claim?
Yeah, well, you know, as you know, we have two cases before the International Court of Justice. The Guatemalan claim to Belize, which is ongoing. Both countries, both parties, Belize and Guatemala, have provided all of our written submissions to the court. Where we are now with that case is that we are awaiting date from the court for the oral hearings. So we hope that we will get a date. The court will sometime later this year announce a date for those oral hearings. The other case is a case brought by Belize, initiated by Belize against Honduras in respect of the Zapadilla keys. And as you pointed out, Guatemala applied to intervene in that case, to join that case, and because of their claim over the entire country, including the Zapadilla keys. So Belize did not object to that application by Guatemala, and our position was we do not object. In fact, we want the entirety of these matters to be resolved. We do not want it, and that's why we brought the claim in the first instance against Honduras, because we did not want to leave that gap open. We don't want to go through the entire process of the ICJ with Guatemala and then have this still hanging out there in terms of this Honduran claim. So once and for all, the matter is before the ICJ. We want to have a comprehensive resolution, a definitive, final resolution of this matter in every aspect of it, So our legal team, we have a very, very good legal team. Their advice and their approach has been to say along those lines, let's not object, let's resolve these matters. And so we were not at all surprised by the court's decision to allow Guatemala to intervene as a non-party. They are a non-party to the case. It's a case between Belize and Honduras, but they have an interest in the case that's tied to their other claim in respect of Belize. So that's it, and I think people should understand that it's nothing more than that.
Okay, I know because of a limit of time, I'm going to try to push through these final questions to you. One has to do with the agreement between Belize and Barbados, the Grenadines and Dominica, in regards to free movement.
Yeah.
But has our government done enough to explain to the Belizean people, particularly workers and students and families, the implications of this free movement? Are we able, and have we taken advantage of this? I know that there have been some Barbadians who have come into Belize, I know personally, but have we been able to say to the Belizean people what this really means and what the opportunities are there, or is it just left in diplomatic language?
Yeah, no. First of all, I think it was an important step for Belize to take. I think and a bold, principled step. We talk a lot about regional integration. We talk about the CARICOM single market and economy. But in practical terms, how do we live up to that commitment? And so Belize was very, very proud to take the bold step, as you pointed out, along with Barbados, St. Vincent and Dominica, as being the 4 first countries to implement this free movement. And it only applies to those 4 countries. In other words, there's reciprocity among those 4 countries. If you're not providing it, you can't benefit from it. So we've engaged in a campaign. I spoke at great length about it in the National Assembly, when we first introduced it.
But I mean, at the level, yeah.
And then we've from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, we have launched a campaign, a media campaign, and we've sent out, digital flyers and explaining what it is. But as you're right. I mean, there's always more you can do, but it's an important step. And again, limited. We've really only had 2 Barbadians come to live in Belize under the program, and Belizeans enjoy the same benefits.
Have any Belizeans gone?
Not to my knowledge. To live.
There are a couple of great things that we have been involved with that we have not taken sufficiently down to the ordinary people. One of them is reparation.
Yeah.
And we're not the only ones guilty of that. There are other Caribbean states that have. And also the CCJ, because we are a part of a clustered group of Caribbean countries that are part of the CCJ. Many others are still going to the Privy Council. So we look dynamic diplomatically, that we jump ahead, we have visionary, but we don't practically get it involved in real time. So what can be done to change that? How would I say that? Like with the bow, but we're not a recite. I don't know how you put it in a Creole, but it's visionary. It was something that was in Chagaramos that we would have been doing this, but it's not practically there, is what I'm saying. And as foreign minister, it seems like it falls on your shoulder to not only do it at the diplomatic level, but to make sure it is actualized in real time.
No, that's a valid point. I mean, I think, Belizeans, as not many of our people are traveling in the Caribbean, and that for me, I lament that fact. That I often tell people, I mean, every vacation people they want to go to North America. And
well, it's not because we go to Miami in order to get to Barbados. Why can't we talk going direct to Jamaica and direct to
I wish that were easy. Logistics is a huge issue on the agenda of CARICOM heads. Every meeting, transportation, logistics, even among themselves, and we're a little distance away from them. But even in like the Eastern Caribbean, they're having problems with logistics and transportation because it doesn't make economic sense. So the small numbers, that's where we get hurt by the small numbers, right? The volumes. But yes, we can do more.
I know I lament that.
You mentioned reparations, and I'm hoping, the Prime Minister and I were talking about the whole issue, and I hope that's an area you can help us with, because I know you have a lot of knowledge about that issue and experience, and so I hope we can work together on that issue.
Inshallah. Tell us about the $150 million in development funds, because we haven't heard much about the millennium. In fact, you have some critics that are saying that is where they may be squeezing, or may I use, what's a good word for cojones? Because we don't seem to be able to say that this thing that was promised to us over 2 years ago, here it is in education, here it is in energy,
No, absolutely, no, not at all. Let me address that very clearly. The MCC grant has been approved.
Okay.
The MCC, that's nothing hanging over our heads.
Has it been liquefied?
But remember, it's a 5-year plan, a 5-year program. Okay. It's not a one-time grant. It's a 5-year program, That's how the MCC charter works.
Has the first tranche been actualized?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah, but
we got cash
but
in
remember, but again, it's the MCC program is that no money given to government in the sense of it. It's run. We have a board. We have an MCC board in Belize. We have 2 projects that we developed ourselves. We designed those projects ourselves.
Okay.
It's not them telling us what we want. It's us identifying our priorities. We say, listen, in terms of constraints to Belize's development, we have 2 big issues in our view.
Okay.
Education, we want to transform our education system. We want targeted investments in teacher development, teacher training. We want targeted investments in the TVET sector, for example, technical vocational education, real meaningful investments in that. And then we have a serious challenge with, at the secondary school level, targeted programs for our young men, targeted programs, ensuring that they are participating, accessing, benefiting from the secondary school education system.
Very necessary.
Those are targeted things that we developed, and they came in and said, we will support what your vision.
So we may be seeing some work with these young men on the street.
And then energy, correct. And then energy, the other constraint with the cost of electricity, the cost of energy in our country. We know that's a major constraint to development in our country. It affects investment. Apart from the pocketbook issue of Belizeans and the cost of electricity, it affects everything else, investment, the investment climate, the cost of doing business in Belize. So we identified those areas, and that's where the monies are going to be invested in a targeted, structured way as determined by Belize. But we work with a board that has been set up.
Sika.
So
we know the vision many years, even before I think Sika was conceptualized, that we saw Belize as the bridge between Central America and the Caribbean. And here's Sika now. In 6 months we will have the presidency once again. What have we done tangibly to realize that dream of us practically being the bridge between this very wealthy section of Central America and the Caribbean? Is there anything that you could point to say Belize has helped to facilitate that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, these organizations, these regional organizations are critically important to us in Belize. We boast about it all the time, as you rightly pointed out, being this bridge. Our Belize is very unique in that we belong to these 2 different regional blocks, right? So we are able to leverage that in a very meaningful way when we're at the table. So within CARICOM, everybody looks to Belize to engage, in terms of Sika. How can we, we want to have more meaningful trade. We want to have more investment from Sika. We want to cooperate in areas of security issues and Belize is often the conduit for that kind of meaningful engagement. So we're very, very proud of that. And it helps us in terms of our other multilateral arrangements that we have in place. People recognize the European Union, for example, often engages with us about both CARICOM and Central America. So I would say that, what we have done over the last 5 years is we understand that we have deep roots in CARICOM. Belize has a strong presence, a strong voice, deep roots in CARICOM. But we don't have the same deep roots in Sika. And so over the last 5 years, we have worked to improve and strengthen our presence and our voice in Sika. So we've joined other regional organizations within Sika. For example, we were a part of Sika, but we weren't a part of what they call SIECA, which is the economic arm of Sika. And so we have now moved to the point of where we're getting observer status in SIECA. And again, that used to be blocked by Guatemala. and we are happy that over the past 5 years, because of our efforts, our government's efforts, that Guatemala dropped that position of blocking.
Right.
So now we're able to join and participate in those economic arms, and that further strengthens our position. So,
Minister, I appreciate you being here. We're all the time, but I asked you to just give me your opinion on a news report that came out just last night, where Meta, as you know, the big Facebook thing there, which is also, and it's a joint company, and I don't know the dynamics of how they are joined together, but I know that this court case in the United States was decided just yesterday, that a group of people, I think one in New Mexico, the other in California, sued these two social media platforms. And the lawsuit was about the insidious way in which they are influencing young people. Some are saying that these social media platforms are increasingly degenerating young people's even cognitive abilities. They are there's a lot of sexual content that's coming across. They have evidence of suicidal thinking with some of these young people. They're committing suicide based on their interaction with this, and the whole AI argument, even though AI was not a part of the lawsuit. So they were found guilty by the US courts. And I remember that it was last year that the UK and also Australia placed legislation in place to prevent these platforms from being accessible by young people. And my thought was this: all young people in Belize have access to these same things. And are the governments in Belize and the Caribbean thinking about how these platforms influence the behavior of young people? And if so, is it being discussed at your regional forums, like your heads of government and other things? And what do you think can be done? Because look, if it affect picnic in America, it affect we too, because we use the same, the children are using exactly the same platform. And if they make the law to block it in America, that does not mean it's necessarily being blocked in Belize. So please comment.
Yeah, no, I mean, the short answer to your question is yes. There's a vigorous discussion taking place regionally and nationally about how we can respond to this. As you know, this is a whole, as they call it, metaverse, right? This is bigger than the universe, as so. How do you respond to that? So at the regional level, I can tell you CARICOM is treating with this matter very seriously. You know, I think the secretariat, the CARICOM secretariat, has been charged with looking at this matter, preparing, getting some of our experts, regional experts, to come up with a briefing paper for CARICOM heads so that we can look at that issue. Some work has already been done, but more work has to be done. So to provide some framework and even develop some, what they call like CARICOM draft legislation, the model legislation as they call it, that we can all look at to see, you know, how do we respond to this changing environment. We have to first of all hold these companies accountable. You know, you can't just throw this thing out there into the metasphere and say, well, you're all on your own. You know, you have to figure out what's good content and what's bad content. And so, no. You come into our space, and you have a responsibility to make sure that you are putting in place some guardrails and safeguards that will allow us to protect our young people and protect our citizens from all of this. Because as you know, it's not just about young people. There's a lot of misinformation.
Absolutely.
Right? Every single, it's hard every time you see something, a video, you have to ask, is this real? Is it AI generated, or is it, so those are real practical issues, because you see, some of these things and they look so real, when in fact they are manufactured. So there are legitimate questions about accountability, transparency, truth attached to all of these issues. And so we're having that discussion as well at the national level. We have, as you know, a Ministry of E-Governance that we have established, and a part of their mandate is to look at this whole issue of AI, what challenges will that pose to our country. So we're doing that. And then in the education system, we have a special responsibility in terms of our young people in the education system, to make sure that we are putting in place safeguards and guardrails. So, for example, we are making significant investments in digital devices. Well, when we give the young people the digital devices, we have built in some safeguards and so on. We have parental controls and so. But, as you know, young people are so sharp. They're so sharp. They figure out quite quickly how to get around those guardrails and so. So it's going to take really.
Well, I'm glad to know it's on the agenda. Approach. It's essential that stays on the agenda. I can remember the former Prime Minister Said Musa over 20 odd years ago, when TV was just coming in, making the statement that television is like 1,000 armies coming in, now
invasion,
this is at another level altogether, and so it's beyond it. Well, Minister, let us give you a final word. We thank you for being here, and we thank you for fielding these questions, and I'll give you a final word, sir.
No, thank you for the opportunity, Brother Nuri. I appreciate it very much, the opportunity to engage with you and your audience, to address, I think very, very important critical issues. When I come back to the behind the zinc fence, I feel bad when I come back here and we're not talking about education and culture.
Yes.
Because I know how important that is.
It is.
And I'm always very, very happy for the support that we continue to receive from the XTV crew and the Cremandala organization in terms of promotion of culture and education. Always there, Marisol and her team, and they're always there to cover the work we're doing in education and culture. So I'm very happy for that, and again, grateful for the opportunity.
All right, we look forward to part 2, which will be on education and culture. Thank you.
Sure.
We'll take our final break, and we'll be back to close off.
The Belize Tax Service has been serving the country well since its inception. But like many tax administration systems worldwide, it faces new challenges that require modern solutions. The Semi-Autonomous Revenue Authority, SARA, will be established by legislation that will modernize how Belize administers taxes. Countries across our region, Jamaica, Barbados, and Guyana, have undertaken similar efforts at modernization, and we're using their experiences, successes, and challenges to design a SARA specific to our tax landscape. SARA will operate under the Ministry of Finance with an advisory board comprised of experts in finance, tax, law, and public administration who will provide sound guidance while maintaining the required oversight of public funds. SARA will provide the framework for modernizing tax administration, improving the way we serve taxpayers, and supporting Belize's development. A semi-autonomous revenue authority, SARA, will create opportunities for improving human resource management, accelerating digital transformation that reduces turnaround time and paperwork, and providing more responsive customer service while maintaining strict accountability standards. SARA, a progressive tax administration for a modern Belize.
Smart for everybody. Smart leading everything. Smart give you everything. Smart offer everything. Smart give you everything. North to the east and the south and the west. Smart are the best, darling. Double up my data and give me all the text. In fact, give me a plan for my family. Unlimited Unlimited calls, so me like it. And smart make everybody feel happy. Bringing people together, me want it. No, smart got love for everybody. Me want my smart plan, want it right now. Me want my smart plan, want it right now. More bundles, data plan. Me want my smartphone, internet in my hand. Call me want my smart plan, want it right now. Smart. Stay connected, stay happy.
I'm Randall Friesen and I manage Westwell Produce, better known as Granny's Foods. That's our main brand. So we offer high quality grains, beans, rice, and we also offer corn chips made from 100% locally grown corn. We saw a need for high quality locally produced products. A lot of the best products are being exported, and we said, you know, we need to keep some of the best products here in Belize rather than export everything. Atlantic Bank has helped us achieve our goals by providing the financing for us to be able to launch products faster than we would without the financing that they offer. We find that Atlantic Bank is very customer friendly, especially with small and medium-sized businesses. We find that Atlantic Bank is more than willing to go the extra mile. They try to understand your business. So when we go to Atlantic Bank with a certain need, we find that they try to develop a solution that will meet our specific need. I would encourage any small business owner to go to Atlantic Bank for their financial services. They're very friendly, and just overall, their service is excellent.
That's a train.
Me too.
For any project, big or small, Best Screws provide strength, efficiency, durability, and affordability. Get the screws specifically designed for your next project. Get Best Screw, the power to build, the strength to last. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
We thank you for being with us today, and we thank our guests for being our guests today, and we look forward tomorrow to have our brother Jeremy Enriquez as our guest, and we hope that it will be just as engaging as our conversation was. I'm sure it will, because every time Mr. Enriquez come in, you know, brother, he always lays it down very clear, but they've just won a very pivotal step in their case against the government, and the CCJ ruled, gave a very favorable ruling. I won't get into it. I'll let him do that tomorrow. God willing, he'll be here from 7:30 tomorrow. We thank you for being with us. We hope that you will be with us tomorrow and continue to be in this conversation, this very pivotal conversation every weekday morning here in Belize. Belizeans, so stand strong and stand firm and do the right thing. For now, Assalamu alaikum.
Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show, my people. Belize our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel about this divide we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to be obey. And all the things that will feel happen and not got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day, another